Hey there, Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. In this video, we're going to be continuing painting Candy from the Neverborn faction. Let's get started. Okay, so for this video, we're going to essentially just pick up where we left off of the previous video, the base coating one, and we will just go ahead and start doing some highlighting here, going back into Corpse Pale for the skin tone. We're going to go ahead and bring up the color of the skin tone just a little bit here. Make sure to thin your paint down as always, especially working on layering and these little bit more smaller models. More detail is always better to have more control over your paint. And when you're working on your faces, it's always easier to kind of do a bit of what I call a balancing act between the colors, is just kind of take your Corpse Pale and maybe a little bit of matte black or some dark gray to kind of darken it down a little bit and really go back and forth between those colors and establish the face tone that you want. You can also use the flesh wash to add a little bit of shadow to the face as well. This is also a good way to just kind of solidify everything. If your colors aren't really blending too well together, using a wash can really help add that together. And as you can see with the wash here, I'm just very carefully adding a thin layer. It's a lot easier to build up your wash and do another layer after this one dries, rather than doing a very thick layer and ruining the paint job on the face. So take your time with this and you will get good results eventually. And for the unit card on Candy here, her eyes are pretty much just shadows, so we'll just go ahead and take a little bit of our dark tone and just dot the sockets where the eyes should be, rather than doing a whole lot of detail on the eyes. If this is what the unit card is telling me to do, then that's what I'm going to follow. And as you can see, we've got a quick amount of detail put on by just doing those few steps on the face. Shouldn't have to do too much more cleaning up on the face from here on out. And now we'll go ahead and try to recreate our original Hydra Turquoise color, adding a little black into the Hydra Turquoise. And the goal here is just to go a bit lighter than the original tone that we had on the dress, so we'll go ahead and just try to brighten that up just a tad. We're going to be doing a little bit of layering and highlighting here with this color, so just try to get as close as you can to the original color. If you need to go back to some Hydra Turquoise and mix that in, that's a good way to do it as well. But here I'm just kind of loosely mixing them back and forth until I'm happy with the color. That looks like a pretty decent highlight that we have here, so we'll go ahead and get a little bit on our brush here and start working in some of these highlights and layers on this dress here. Big part that we're looking to avoid on this model here is just the recess areas that we hit with the shade before. Try to avoid hitting those areas with this color and just try to get the highest raise areas. That's what we're going for on this. And for this step, if you'd like to put a number on it, about 2 to 3 thin coats will probably get the job done there. And as you can see, we have a nice slight bit of contrast here built up. We'll go ahead and do just a straight layer of the Hydra Turquoise here. And this will be a final highlight. We'll want to leave a little bit of that mix showing from earlier. And yeah, the key components to building up good highlights and layers are pretty much just have good brush control. Make sure there's not too much paint on your brush, and that takes time as well. You know, getting good with the paintbrush takes a decent amount of time. So don't feel bad if you know, you can't quite get those spots quite yet. Just keep practicing, keep trying, and you'll get there. Also use very thin layers and multiple layers. Using thick layers when you're highlighting can really kind of ruin the gradient that you're trying to create with the highlights, so keep that in mind. And if you follow those steps, you'll pretty much have decent results. And as you can kind of tell by the videos, I'm by no means an expert or a professional. I've never won any Golden Demons. I am fairly decent. I can paint to a tabletop standard, so I'm just kind of sharing what I know, and this is a community where you're absolutely welcome to share suggestions, tips, tricks, anything in the comments or in our Facebook page. We welcome that 100%. And also the comments and the Facebook group are good places to put in suggestions for videos. If there's something you've been struggling with that you kind of want help with, please feel free to share that with us, and I would be happy to make a video about whatever has been bugging you in the hobby. Or if you have any miniature or game suggestions from our store that you'd like to see painted, I would be happy to paint those as well. We do have a lot of games on the store at the moment. We've got pretty much everything from Warlord Games, Bolt Action, Blood Red Skies, all of their games. And then we also have Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms, A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game, and Malifaux here. Getting back to the model here, as you can see, highlighting can be the longest step when that's like the primary color on your model. So just keep at it, take your time with it, like I am here. And as you can see, you'll start to build some really nice gradients on the model. You'll see it a lot better in the close-ups later on. But once this step is finished up, we'll go ahead and switch over to a couple other small highlights on this model here. And in the next video, we will cover how I base this model. And so you can see here we have some very nice highlights built up and shadows still from the wash there. So now we're going to switch over to some other detail work here. We're going to switch over to pure red, and we're just going to fill in some lines on the candy canes that are in her basket here. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of excess paint off of our brush, have some really fine control here, and just do some very small lines here as best as we can. I know it's a little bit blurry. Again, sorry about the camera. We're working on that. Hopefully we'll have a solution to that here shortly in the next couple of weeks. And it can be kind of hard to try to do straight lines on angled areas like this, so just take your time with it. Make sure to have some matte white handy in case you need to clean up. I know when I first did this, my lines were a little bit squiggly, so I went in and cleaned up with a little bit of matte white, and they look a lot better afterwards. So always be sure to have the color, like the base coat that you're working with, just have that on your palette, just in case you need to go back and clean up any mistakes when you're working with acrylics. And I also went ahead and highlighted the skull with a bit of skeleton bone. And then we'll also switch over to our final step here, which is going to be adding a layer of anti-shine matte varnish to the model. This will help get rid of a bit of the shininess that was left over from the wash. And you do not need to wait 24 hours like you do with the speed paint with this. You can go at this right away, about 10 minutes after the paint dries, and you should be all set. As always, guys, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to check out the top link in the description to take part in the giveaway. All of our giveaways will now end the following Sunday of the week that they premiere, so keep that in mind. You'll have plenty of time to take part in the giveaway. And as always, guys, happy wargaming.